Hello out there. It's me again. Webinar time. I'm just waiting to see, making sure this is working. Yes, it is. Hi, it's Jessica Allen here. I work for Suho. I'm an ESD consultant with them, and my specialty is air tightness testing. So, oops, on my last slide. What have I done? There we go. So today my webinar is going to be about the Green Star tools. So I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about the difference between the Design and As-Built tool, version 1.2, and the Green Star Buildings version 1 tool that was brought out in October this year. So what I've done is I've basically taken a few excerpts out of each of these tools, and I've just sort of made a few highlights, a few commentaries around the bits and pieces that I think are important. Now, Tom, my colleague, is moderating for me today, so he is the one on the chat. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat and I will get to them at the end. And I really welcome any questions and discussions around this tool because it's new, and there are lots of people out there who are, Green Star experts, and any discussion around this tool would be beneficial to me and to everybody. So if you have any comments or questions about anything I'm saying or anything to contribute, please put it in the chat. I'd love to hear from you. So is why is that screen still stuck on my old slide? Hang on, what's happening? Give me 1 second. Capturing the wrong screen. Who have we got? Natalie. Hello, Sean. Hey, buddy. Come on, present your thing. Tech issues. I thought I had all this sorted. What if I try and do it this way? Okay. No, that's not it either. Trying to make it so you can't see the background behind the scenes stuff. This is ridiculous. No, that's not what we want. Okay. It's in present mode, but my presentation is on that screen. So I need to, anyway, I'm just going to push on, right? Tech issues or no tech issues. You can see what I'm trying to do here. Minimize that. So, right. So I've taken a few excerpts out of the tools. I've highlighted, made comments, etc., etc. The things that I think are important. So the first thing that I have done is I've taken some excerpts out of the Design and As-Built version 1.2 tool. So Air Tightness testing came under the building commissioning credit for Design and As-Built. And they had some basic guidelines around the areas that you had to test. So there was a minimum 2,000 square meters or 10% of the building envelope area for the maximum tolerance level. So for a just basic one Green Star point, you had to do a compartment test on a minimum area of the building. And that area of the building had to capture important assemblies, and it also had to capture the roof because the roof is a really crucial part of the building envelope when it comes to air leakage. So you'll see here, sample areas tested must include the uppermost occupied floor of the building and be representative of the external envelope construction. So you might recognize this little diagram from a previous presentation I've done where it's just demonstrating what a compartment test is. So testing a small amount of the building with the complications of internal air leakage. In the previous tool, we also had the table taken straight out of the ATMA TSL1 standard, and that gave us the guidelines for minimum compliance, normal practice, and best practice. So 1 point, 2 points, and 3 points respectively. So that is a really quick summary of the Design and As-Built tool. It had air tightness testing in there. It was an option. You didn't have to do it. If you targeted the commissioning credit, that's when you had to do a test. but you didn't have to do it. So basically, in summary, that tool focused on the testing end of things. So what we were doing was coming into a project at the end, testing it and finding out that it was really, really leaky. So although it was a really useful process for a lot of the builders that we did this work for, they still learnt a lot. There wasn't much we could do to help the building or help the builders or help the building owners by that stage when the building was complete. So just verifying that a building was really, really, really leaky was sort of too little too late. But yeah, again, a good thing, better than not having it in there at all. It also, so any builders who were able to achieve excellent outcomes, as per this table here, the really low levels of air tightness, were awarded with innovation points. But this tool, Design and As-Built version 1.2, didn't offer any guidance on how to actually get there or any requirement to have a commissioning process. So moving on to Green Star Buildings version 1, the biggest difference between the two tools is that air tightness testing is now a minimum requirement, or they call them minimum expectations. So any project registered under this tool must have a test done. So you're probably all aware that the credit structure has completely changed. So air tightness testing is under a credit called verification and handover and is still referred to as building commissioning. So this little paragraph says that air tightness must be considered throughout the whole project through schematic design phase, design development, construction and verification. So it takes the process from a verification process only to a commissioning process. So it's under the commissioning credit, so that makes sense, that this process is actually a project long process, and it starts at design with your red pen test, review of your air barrier, communication with the trades, basically that process of communication and planning is vital to execution, as with many other elements of a construction project. You can still do a compartment test under this tool, and that is a good thing in terms of there are many Green Star projects like hospitals and universities and things where whole building testing is simply not possible because the buildings are just too big. So being able to test a compartment, even at the verification stage, is a necessary inclusion. Many of the office buildings we could test in one go, but there will be exceptions. So the 2,000 square meters or 10% of the air building envelope rule is still in place. The problem with that I find is that the standard that is required for this test to be conducted under is ISO 9972. The wording in ISO 9972 is very specific and very particular, and it doesn't allow for compartment testing. So it's a tiny bit of there's a contradiction there. Under the old tool, there were some other standards that could be used. There's a list of the ATMA standards and some other things, other international standards that could be used, which some of those do allow for compartment testing. So we were able to say we're testing under ATMA TSL 1 instead of ISO 9972 if we had a compartment test. So there's a little bit of a wording issue there as well. However, like I said, compartment testing is still an important part of this process. And so that wording does need to stay in there. Okay, now onto the bit that I guess I'm still a little bit unsure about, and I'm inviting discussion on this. So there's a sentence that says, verification phase, the aim of air tightness testing is to verify the air permeability assumptions in the energy model as detailed in the credit energy use. So what that says is we're trying to verify the air infiltration in the energy model in real life. And that is an important point, because a lot of the time the air infiltration assumptions in the model don't reflect what is built in real life at all. So there is a significant difference between what is modelled and what is built, and that's across the commercial and residential sectors. So the energy model is there to be, it's there to be useful to professionals and builders. And so verifying the air infiltration levels in the model, in the as-built, gives the client a certain level of security around the end product. So if you go, you have to dig a little bit deeper to find out what the air infiltration assumption is supposed to be in the model. So it directs you to the calculator, which then directs you to the energy calculation guide. And once you get to this section, it tells you that the default air changes that needs to be input into the thermal model is 0.5 air changes. 0.5 air changes, I believe, is at ambient pressure. And we test at 50 pascals. So that requires a complex conversion from 0.5 air changes up to a 50 pascals level in order to convert that thermal model assumption into a real life as-built target. That conversion is very complex. There is a basic rule of thumb around it, but I wouldn't want to use that on a Green Star project. There's a lot of different factors around climate and elevation and all sorts of complex things that I don't even understand in order to convert an air change at ambient pressure to at 50 pascals. So that's the first thing that got my attention. The next thing that got my attention is the wording in this section, and it says there isn't a specified target under this credit, even though it says we're trying to verify what's in the model. So there are no targets like there were in the previous design and as-built tool with the ATMA table. There is no target. However, we've been given a suggestion. So the suggestion is a permeability of 3 cubic meters per hour per square meter. It's guidance only. I think the sensible thing to do would be for the project team to create their own target and aim for that and verify that they've achieved it. So I think the thermal modelling assumptions of the 0.5 air changes, that's the bit that I don't quite understand, because if we're trying to verify what's in the model, but we're set as different targets. So anyway, I invite discussion about that, and I'm wondering if others are as a little bit unsure about that as me. I don't do the thermal modelling in commercial buildings myself, so there could be some intricacies around that I am not aware of. So please contact me. There are some extra credits available for exceptional performance under this tool. There's no statement, as far as I'm aware, as to what those targets are. So again, the table has not been included in this tool. So those innovation points are available. However, you achieve them at this point. So basically, the summary of this tool is that Green Star Buildings makes air tightness a minimum expectation, and also puts a much heavier focus on, the test is still required, but it puts a much heavier focus on the commissioning process, and puts a requirement on the project team to start thinking about air tightness from the schematic design phase, the design phase, all the way through to verification phase. So that is going to create better buildings just by having that process, just by identifying an air barrier and talking to the tradespeople about how to put the building together and that what the intention is and all this sort of thing, that a test is going to be done. All those sorts of things are going to create better buildings, which in turn is going to make testing easier for us, because a tighter building is much easier to test. So compartment testing is, like I said, still in the credit, and it is a really important part of the commissioning process. So we would recommend that you actually have, through the construction process, as part of your building commissioning, actually have a compartment test done. Pressurize the top 2 floors, because the roof, or the top floor, the roof is always where your largest issues are going to be. The roof, or the bottom floor where all your entry doorways are, and the roof where all of your mechanical systems are, those are the weak points in a commercial building. So if you can identify early in your project where the issues are in those two spots, then the outcome is going to be more favorable. So some of the wording I think could do with some more discussion, but I think that this tool is going to do a really good job on creating more airtight buildings and lowering energy use and lowering CO2 emissions. Ava and Atma ANZ are continuing to speak with the GBCA on this tool, and they ask for consultation, and we're looking forward to talking to them a little bit more about this tool in the future. So yeah, if there are any changes made, then we'll let you know. As far as building commissioning guides, if you need any information, any guidance on the building commissioning process, this document is excellent. So I will perhaps... How am I going to do that? I'm going to try and post the link. My screens have done something strange, so I'm not sure how to post the link, but perhaps in the comments underneath this video, I'll post a link to this guide for anyone who would like it. It's free, a free download off the internet. I'm going to be hosting a session, a in-person workshop at our 10-star house in Woodford for Green Star accredited professionals. So we'll be inviting some GSAPs around Adelaide to come and have an in-person workshop. I'm going to demonstrate a test on the house, and it'll be a really good chance for some Q&A and discussion around this tool for the local people in Adelaide. It's on the 12th of February at 3 o'clock, and we will be posting details early next year. So thank you for your time. That is all I have today on the Green Star Design and As Built versus Green Star Buildings tool. Like I said, I invite discussion on this, and I hope to hear from some of you out there soon. I'm going to go to some of the questions and comments now. I've got my little phone here. What have we got? It seems like some of the details for the credit achievement and exceptional performance credits will be better defined going forward in the future. That's from Sean Maxwell. That's correct. We've had confirmation from the GBCA that information will be coming out early next year. So stay tuned for that. Projects starting now can begin the building envelope commissioning process, but they won't be doing the whole building test for at least a year. So let's use the next year to help them. Absolutely. If you're registering your project under Design and As Built or Green Star, either one, if you're registering it now, then there's plenty of time for you to get some advice on how to achieve a more airtight building envelope. And there are plenty of us who are here to help you do that. Sean has also typed in the comments NIBS Guideline 3 2012, so you could even just Google that and it'll come up and you'll be able to download the guidance documentation. So yeah, that will be helpful for you. So are there any questions? Comment from Sean: I would say that compartment testing is allowed under ISO 9972. In fact, ISO 9972 doesn't say exactly what must be tested. It's up to you. Okay. It's a quantitative process that can be applied to any enclosure. You're the one that defines what the meaningful definition of the enclosure is. So yeah, even internationally where this testing is being done for 10, 12 years, a lot of this stuff is still open to interpretation. So if you're feeling confused here in Australia, then don't worry. Some of our UK counterparts still don't know 100% what how to explain some of this stuff. So Sean's on fire. Problem is that Green Star language often is worded as if it rewords whole building Air Tightness results, but they still give credit for tiny sections, to tests of tiny sections of buildings. Yes, it is confusing, and the same goes for this tool. You can test a tiny building, but the Green Star will accept the results as though it was a whole building test, which is a sticking point because you can't verify whole building performance using a compartment test. That's a commissioning process, not a verification process. So, okay. Better would be for GBCA to reward results for whole building tests. The only way to meaningfully evaluate an exterior envelope. Correct. Like you pointed out, it will be good. Manasa, Good to have one infiltration guide to measure against for both modelers and testers. Would definitely recommend SISB guide for infiltration. Thank you for that comment. So we've had a few people join us online today, so that's really great to see. I hope this has been useful. And if you have any questions, you can contact me, air@suho.com.au, and I'd be happy to give you a call and have a chat to you about anything that you are unsure about or want to flesh out a little bit. I know that some of you out there are GSAPs, some of you are highly experienced thermal modelers, and yeah, like I said, let's talk. Let's make sure we understand this tool. Also, do you like my t-shirt? All right. Okay, that's it. I think we're going to wrap it up here. So thanks for joining me today, and I hope you have a lovely day, a lovely Christmas, and I hope to see some of you GSAPs out there on the 12th of February at the 10 Star House for our in-person workshop. All right. See you later.